Today I'm going to be talking about your purpose is not petty. And when God gave me this, He gave me this about a week ago. And like I said, God will give me things sometimes, and sometimes He'll wait for me to do it. Maybe a week later when the time is right. God's timing, like I said, is not always our timing. So I do it when God tells me to. But when He gave me this, I kind of looked at a lot of my friends that's going through things, and they might be struggling with a couple of things, or they going into something that they didn't want to go into. And I just want to let everybody know, we keep getting this wrong. We keep thinking that our purpose is our purpose, but God already has a purpose for you before you was born. God already knew what He wanted you to do. He knew what He wanted you to be. And, and we all get upset because sometimes I look at certain people and I say, wow, they rich, and why can't I be rich? Why can I run around here with the $1 million houses, $1 million cars? Why do I have to struggle and work? And to be honest with you, there's always somebody worse off than I am. And I'm really not bad. I'm not doing bad at all. And I think sometimes we get other people's purpose mixed up with ours, because who knows what would have happened if I would have had that $1 million house, if I would have had that $1 million car. I might have, who knows, I could have been a drug dealer, or I could have wound up going to jail. See, God sees things that we don't see. And that's why I said this message called Your Purpose is Not Petty, because we always think our purpose is petty, and it's really not. Your gift is your purpose, okay? And we don't understand that our gift that God gave us is really our purpose, all right? Your gift is no good if you don't possess your gift. Now, and I didn't understand that at first, and now I understand. See, God has given you a gift, okay? And your gift is your purpose. But if you don't go out and possess that gift that God gave you, it's not going to do you any good, We want to possess everybody else's gift, okay? But we don't want to possess our own gift. Isn't that crazy? We want to possess everybody else's gift and everybody else's purpose, but we don't want to possess our own gifts and purpose that God literally gave for you. See, your purpose is not petty. And I'm going to say this a couple of times going throughout this message, because I got to get people to understand God has a purpose for you. And the purpose that God has for you is not petty. We think that it's light, and it's not. Your purpose is not for you to give up when you're going through hard times. And yet and still, a lot of times when we're going through hard times, we want to give up, but your purpose, see, God has a purpose for you. And sometimes, I hate to say it, going through hard times is part of your purpose. We all have to go through a hard time sometimes, or you might have to go through something sometimes to get to what your purpose is. And it's a shame that a lot of people don't know what their purpose is, or a lot of people lose out on their purpose because they give up. When you're almost at your breakthrough, you want to give up. And you're right at the breakthrough of getting to your purpose, and then you want to give up. Sometimes you need to stop. Okay, sometimes you need to stop on your own purpose. Okay, let me break this down. Sometimes you can stop your own purpose. Isn't that crazy? You can literally stop your own purpose by giving up, by giving in. Okay, when you can also when you allow Satan to put things in your way. Okay, like temptation. And Satan is good for putting temptation in your way. When you allow Satan to put temptation in your way, and you fall for the temptation, or you fall short of giving up, you're stopping the purpose that God has for you. You have to stay on course. And yet, and still, a lot of times we want to get off course. We complain about our time that we was born. Isn't that crazy? Have you ever asked yourself, you say to yourself, boy, I wish I was born 15 years earlier, or I wish I was born 15 years later, things would have been changed. Things would have been different. But there's no guarantee that that's the case. See, God already knew he wanted you here for this time. He didn't want you here 20 years ago. He didn't want you here 15 years later from now. God wanted you here for this time, for this purpose. Your purpose is for this time. Now, what you do with it is up to you. But God put you here for a purpose, and your purpose is here for this time. So stop saying you wish you was born 20 years earlier, or you wish you was born 20 years later. Your purpose is for now. What you do with it is up to you. If God wanted you to be born 15 or 20 years or 30 years later, okay, God would have let you been born then. But he didn't. That's why you're born now. That time was not for your purpose. If that time that you wanted 15 years earlier, 15 years later, wasn't your time for your purpose. See, God already had your purpose. He already knew this time that you're alive now is your purpose. You was designed for this time. Hear what I'm saying. You was designed for this time. Your purpose is now. You was designed for this time. Okay? You cannot help people when you focus on the what they did and not the why they did it. I'm going to break this down a little bit and whatnot, because I think we get confused. See, when somebody do something, we always want to find out what they did. We're nosy like that. We want to find out what they did. But if you're going to be in the ministry, if you're going to be helping people, if you're going to serve your purpose, the thing is not the what they did, but the why they did it. See, the what they did is for God. Okay, what they did is for God. That has nothing to do with you. The why they did it is your purpose. See, God designed your purpose to find out why they did it so you can help them through what they're going through, not the what. Okay, what they did has no concern of yours. What they did is already over with. What they did it has to do with God, has nothing to do with you. Now we're talking about your purpose. But the why they did it is why God wants you to help them out. Okay, why they did it is your purpose for you helping other people. We keep focusing on the what, and God has what God has. Okay. We keep, now, I'm going to talk about us now. We keep asking God, or we keep focused on what God has for us to do. That's what we want to do, what God has for us to do. Okay? And that's what we should be focusing on. What God has for us to do. What is your purpose? Now, we're talking about what on our case. What is that God has for us to do, not the why. See, it changes around. For other people, it's different. For us, it's the what that God wants us to do. The why, okay, is no concern. Why God wants you to sit up here and do what you're doing, that's on God. He knows what he knows. See, sometimes God will have you doing something that you won't have no clue. You might not find out for 15, 20 years, why God has you doing a certain thing, okay? But what God wants you to do, yeah, you do want to know what God wants you to do. God, when you go to God, say, Father, what would you like me to do? What would you like me to do to serve my purpose? Not why. The why is on God, not on you. You focus on the what's in front of you. Okay? You focus on what God has in front of you. What is it that God wants you to do? What is it that God has what is your purpose that God wants you to do? And your purpose is what God wants you to do, not the why. God wants you to do it. I'll say this again. Your purpose is to focus on what God wants you to do and not the why. The reason why you're still here today is because God's purpose for you is for you to be here. I'm going to hear what I'm saying on this. The reason why that you are still alive today, the reason why, look at a lot of reason why people are dead, a reason why a lot of people died at an early age, a lot of people died at young kids, a lot of people didn't make it to a certain age, okay? The reason why you're still here today, because that's God's purpose for your life. God has something that he wants you to do. Your purpose is not over. This is why you're still alive. Sometimes you want to quit, you want to give up, you want to commit suicide. But if God was finished with you, you wouldn't be here. Your purpose is to be here today. That's why you're still alive. That's the reason why you're still alive. Your faith comes from your purpose. See, you have to have faith. And once you have faith, then God will show you what your purpose is. But you have to have faith to find out what your purpose is. The reason why you are still at that job or that position is because that's your purpose. Let me make this very clear. Because like I said, I have my son and I have a couple of friends that's going through some stuff, that jobs that they didn't want to do, but they got it, and God set it up. And they went through, every time they was getting ready to go through something, God opened up a door and showed them something different. See, your purpose was not to do that job. Same thing with me. When I first started working with FedEx and whatnot, and I was catching a little hell because of racism, I told God, I said, I'm going to find me another job because I can go find another job somewhere else. And I'm sorry, matter of fact, it wasn't even FedEx at the time. It was Watkins, and before FedEx took over. And I was going through a lot of racists. And I said, I'm going to find me another job. And I'm not going to put up with all of this, because why should I have to put up with this, when I can go somewhere else? And I had the qualification to go somewhere else. And every door I went to, the people said, yeah, we'll hire you. But as soon as it was time to hire me, the doors closed in my face. And I couldn't understand why God, because God told me, he says, I don't want you to go nowhere. And I couldn't understand why God didn't want me to go somewhere. Okay. And so when I didn't find out this until later on, years later, when FedEx took over, okay, and we became a bigger company, we got things, better pay, we got better health plan, we got more incentives, things got a little bit easier. But see, God knew that. So if I would have went somewhere else, I would have lost out when the company was sold out to FedEx. I would have lost all the perks and everything that came with working for FedEx. I didn't know that. I was just ready to leave and whatnot because I just wasn't going to go for this stuff. So God had told me no, and he closed every door. My purpose was to work for FedEx. But I didn't know that. See, but God knew that. See, this is why I said God will sit up here and put you in positions that sometimes you don't know where God is going to take you. And that's why you got to be careful when you sit up here trying to get away from what God's purpose is. Stick with God's purpose because God's purpose is never wrong. God knows what he's doing. Your purpose is not petty. And like I said, I'm going to say this a couple of times. Your purpose is not petty. I'm going to go to a part 2 on this. I might even go to a part 3 because I want to get people to understand what purpose is not petty means.